And we are live. Welcome to the MLB Strategy Show. It is Friday, July 1st. The first half of the year has completed. 10-game MLB slate here to break down. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. As much as I want to just talk about the first day of NBA free agency, we got to talk baseball. And to talk baseball, I'm joined by Adam Scherer. So Adam, how are you? How did your Thursday go?
I'm good. Thursday was normal. Lost like 50% in tournaments. Won, 15, 20% in cash. Pretty normal day. Didn't have a ton of Michael Perez's 3 home runs, so that made things a little difficult. It was also looking a lot better in tournaments until the Cubs went absolutely nuclear. But yeah, I don't know. I actually ended up with kind of weird tournament exposures because I accidentally played a random set of 150 lineups. I didn't really hate how it turned out, but certainly not where I would have been. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was pretty normal day.
Yeah, I unregged before the deeper dive or during the deeper dive yesterday because I just wanted to pay attention to basketball, which I'm happy that I did. So I have no idea what happened other than I know the Phillies had 12 runs through like 3 innings or something.
Yeah,
Did they end up being the team
ton.
that was needed?
Philly scored a ton. Cubs scored a ton.
Okay.
Everybody else was pretty useless outside of Michael Perez.
All righty. Well, we got 10 games today. We're back to Coors, which is a thing, but we only bring the Diamondbacks with us for the ride instead of the Dodgers. So slightly better, I guess. We'll definitely get there. D-fixes. Is that why you had all 5 threes yesterday?
Yes,
sure is.
That's actually what made me notice that I'd entered the wrong set of lineups. Was I was going through looking to see like how many 5-mans of each team I had, and I'm like, I have no 4-man stacks. I have no 2-man stacks. Like, this is weird. How did I end up with all 5-3? And then I was like, oh, I just threw 150 lineups in. I don't know what 150 lineups they were, though. I thought they were just like the first 150 I had made, but they weren't. So I don't know what I did or how I got them, but yeah.
Didn't get a chance to say this to you yet because I saw the message about me in our chat earlier. I like the DeLon Wright signing, okay. So I'm not going to pop in to take a dump on it. I don't think the Wizards are any good, but they're like solid across the board.
Yeah, like they're not a title contender. I think they're a legit playoff team.
I don't know about legit playoff team, but
I would bet even money that they make the playoffs.
That's scary. Just to get through the play-in is so difficult.
I don't think they're in the play-in.
So you think they're no doubt about a top 6 seed?
I thought it was 8.
Yeah, 7, 8, 9, 10 is the play-in.
Oh, right. I forgot they. Yeah. I forgot they did that.
I can't imagine like now that you're hearing that you feel the same way about what you just said.
No, I was thinking top 8.
Yeah, but I have no qualms saying that. But if they're 8, like it's pretty hard to win both games and like make sure that you get in. So. Just flattens everybody out in that 7 to 10 range. Wizards making decent moves. They're making moves. I mean, like their best player is the second best player on most teams. Maybe their second best player is the third best player on most teams.
Yeah,
that Beal contract is brutal. They have no choice. Like I get it. Like you sign it and that's just how it works. But holy shit, is that a bad contract?
What, Beal?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's just nothing you could do.
No, right. Yeah. No. I mean, I retweeted this morning an article from the Post. Basically, it was like a weird article. It wasn't bashing Beal. It was, I think, kind of just making fun of Beal because he had said that he wants to win in DC, and then they were pointing out that like him signing a Supermax is not going to win in DC. But it was just like a weird article because like obviously the guy's going to take the money. Obviously the Wizards had to give him the money. Like, yeah, I don't know. It was just, it is what it is. Like they're hopefully going to just be a solid team for the next 5 years. And
yeah, like if he gives up $50 million in that deal, which is a preposterous amount of money to give up,
right?
It still like doesn't free up the Wizards to do anything additional. Like they're not boxing them out.
Who was the last free agent that was just like, oh yeah, I want to come play in Washington?
I can't even name one.
I actually
no one of like relevance.
Michael Jordan.
On that note, DeLon Wright.
Right.
All right, you want to break down this slate?
Sure.
Mikkel says the Spurs, I guess, made him mad. That shit was dumb. That's an incredible trade for the San Antonio Spurs. You're
I'd rather just
watching
talk
right
about-
now the Brooklyn Nets light themselves on fire with unprotected picks. Give me 3 Atlanta picks 3 years from now, fully unprotected. If this doesn't work out, let me know where Trae Young's playing in 3 years, because we don't have any clue.
I'd rather just keep talking about basketball until Nate Rojas comes in and tells us to do our job.
I know. Yeah, I am. This will keep people more entertained than me asking if you want to play Roansy Contreras. Like I said, 10 games today. Before we get started, I do want to say thank you to Prize Picks for being the presenting sponsor. We're going to go over some Prize Picks stuff in a little bit, but I'd be remiss to not kick it off by saying hi to Prize Picks. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I love that trade for the Spurs. More and more. More and more. If he was able to extend, it'd be a different story, but he's not. So that's why you trade.
I say I know nothing about NBA contracts.
Because he's on a low number, his extension is going to be too low for what he would actually expect to get in 2 years. Okay. So you would never sign an extension on the number that he's on unless you can renegotiate and extend, which was not going to be a possibility. So he basically has to go to free agency. And if you have to go to free agency on the Spurs, you're probably just going to leave and go to a better team when you can. So take the back-to-back unprotected Hawks picks and hope that it looks like Brooklyn. That's what I would do. So, Pirates and Brewers. 3-run implied total for the Pirates, 4.3 for the Brewers. It's Roansy Contreras going for Pittsburgh and Corbin Burns going for the Brewers. Contreras not owned. Don't get the sense that we're going to be going there, but we'll touch on that if you want to. Burns, on the other hand, your highest owned pitcher for today, 10,600. That's the second biggest price tag behind Garrett Cole, but 43% owned on DK right now, 29% on FanDuel. And I don't see anything that makes me think that that is incorrect. I think Corbin Burns is the best pitching option on today's slate.
Yeah, I don't have any argument against that. Leads the slate with a 32.5% strikeout percentage, 2.78 xFIP. Good matchup against the Pirates, one of the weaker offenses in baseball in Pittsburgh. Good place to pitch. There's nothing negative I have to say about Corbin Burns.
Yeah, you have him ahead of Cole.
Yeah,
it's just better matchup,
better strikeout matchup, better matchup in terms of lack of production, slightly better strikeout stuff for Burns.
Yeah, I think we're both on the same page then. Most likely one of the cash game pitchers. I'd be very surprised if you're not getting to Burns in a cash game. That just seems like the more likely outcome. Do you have any interest in paying down to Contreras?
If I get some, that's fine, but just based on the ownership and the lack of, I should say the lack of ownership coming into pitchers in that price range, I doubt you need to get there all that much. Comparing him to Lance Lynn at 7,600 against the Giants, Marco Gonzalez at 7,400, both of those guys are getting double-digit ownership. If you wanted to move some of that to Roansy Contreras, I think that's fine. There are strikeouts in the Milwaukee lineup. Contreras has a 23% strikeout percentage, certainly better strikeout stuff than Marco Gonzalez, but I don't think it's any sort of a priority.
I stopped listening to you the moment you started speaking, and
good.
I could not be happier. And not because I didn't care what you were saying, but because I just saw on Twitter that Mohamed Salah has signed a 3-year extension with Liverpool. I'm fully erect.
I don't know who that is, but
one of the best soccer players on the planet. Was set to leave. This was his last year on the deal. Didn't look like it was going to get done because it was going to take a shit ton of money to bring him back. They are bringing him back. It's like the equivalent of like if the Nuggets would have had to let Jokic walk.
And then I
didn't want to use Beal as the example because Mohamed Salah deserves every single cent that he's about to get. Woo! I thought he was gone. I thought we were going to lose him for absolutely nothing. This is an absolutely massive signing. So, all right, let's talk bats now. I didn't expect to see that news. That's just incredible. Brewers bats, 4th in aggregate ownership, 6th in our top stack metric, 3rd in our stack score. Over-owned to me, given their current run total. Maybe I'm just not seeing this correctly. I think they're a good value relative to salary. Like this team could not be any cheaper, but I'm not sure. I think they're the 6th best stack out of 20 today.
Yeah, kind of surprised they're getting as much ownership as they are. Pitchers Park, good pitching prospect in Contreras. He's obviously had some issues in the majors so far. He's walking 10.5% of hitters, but it's not like he's been a total gas can. 4.27 xFIP. The value looks nice. We have Milwaukee right now with about a 10% chance of being the top value stack. In terms of like if you sort by top stack percentage and then look down the value column, the only team ahead of them that's a better value is Arizona, who's pulling the most ownership on the slate in Coors. So on a side note, I don't know why we can't price teams correctly in Coors, but yeah, like I get it from a value standpoint, but it's not a pitcher that I'm really excited to target. It's not an offense that I love getting to.
Yeah, I just don't get it. Adam, like, not like anybody's crazy owned. Adames at 11, Tellez at 12, Urias 10. Like, none of those numbers are like insane. We're not getting like 20 something percent on anybody. I just think like everybody is incrementally overpriced, and I'll find value elsewhere.
Overpriced or overowned?
Or overowned, sorry. Yeah, they're very clearly not overpriced.
I was like, what exactly do you think Rowdy Tellez should be priced at?
No, that's just a misspeak. So
I will say for Contreras,
still a little shook from Salah.
Yeah, all the blood rushing elsewhere.
Yes, told you.
Contreras has had some power issues. He's only allowed about 1 home run per 9 innings so far, but his expected ISO to lefties is 60 points higher than his actual ISO. His expected ISO to righties is 50 points higher than his actual ISO, which is already 222. So that is 1 point in favor of Milwaukee.
I don't get the sense that I have to ask you anything about Pirates bats here.
No, you don't. Somebody's gonna hit 3 home runs. That's what they do apparently. But
yeah. Do you think any of these Brewers guys are sneaking into cash builds?
They certainly could. If you get to Contreras, Tellez, Yelich at 4,400. But I mean, this is another slate. It's just like we had talked about on those Dodgers Coors Field slates. You're going to be jamming in Coors and then just filling it out with whatever fits.
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility that it's just 8 hitters from the Rockies and Diamondbacks.
Right.
Like that's certainly in play. Except for one particular person sending you head-to-heads, at which point they probably don't have any of the games.
Yeah, most likely. We didn't play yesterday. That was disappointing.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I did get a different random person took a $500 and I won that, so that was nice.
Maybe he's just making all sorts of blank accounts, trying to take some action from you.
No, this lineup
come off the set.
This lineup was way too confident to have been the same guy.
Okay. Anything else here, Pirates and Brewers?
Nope.
Mets and Rangers. 4.8 run implied total for the Mets, 3.6 for the Rangers. Chris Bassett and Glenn Otto going in this one. Otto playing the role of Roansy Contreras, where he is not getting owned and probably shouldn't. Chris Bassett playing the role of, the dollar store version of Corbin Burns today. 20% owned at 9,800. And much like I said about Burns, I think that ownership makes some sense. I think this is a pretty good spot, decent strikeout matchup. I don't have anything really to say about Chris Bassett. Like, I'd like to have him in 20-something% of my lineups.
Yeah, same boat. 17% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Price tag is reasonable. Good pitcher. Average matchup. He struck out 25.7% of hitters this year. 3.56 xFIP. If without even looking at the ownership, if you told me I just had to guess around where Chris Bassett would be coming in or should be coming in, I would have just said like 20 to 25%.
You finished that off faster than I was ready for, and I had to cough. Yeah, I wish I had more to say here, but like Bassett just looks like a really good, perfectly reasonable option against the Rangers today. Not much else that I could possibly say about it. You're not going to Glenn Otto, correct?
I don't really see any reason.
Okay. Mets bats.
Not a great pitcher.
Yeah, no. Mets bats. 5th in top stack percentage, 7th in aggregate ownership, 8th in stack score. That all seems reasonable. I'd say they're probably a little overowned, nothing too crazy. I don't have them with the same sort of ceiling that it seems we do, but I also think it doesn't really matter once you're getting to like the 8th team in the ownership. So what are you planning to do with the New York Mets today?
I think the Mets look good at their current ownership. Okay. Glenn Otto this year, it's not a huge sample, only 390 pitches to lefties, 381 to righties, but a 107 actual ISO to lefties, 279 expected ISO. Same kind of thing with righties, 192 actual, 242 expected. If you go back to last year to get a little bit bigger sample size, same kind of thing, 256 expected ISO to lefties, 207 to righties. and you have a good Mets lineup. So, Francisco Lindor, I think, is going to look good. Brandon Nimmo leading off looks good. Pete Alonso looks good. If McNeil's in the lineup, he's going to look pretty good. At their current ownership levels, I do like getting the Mets.
Okay. I see the top of the order as other than Pete Alonso, who I think is a little bit underowned individually. I think everybody's just sort of where they should be, and they're not cheap. Although the bottom of the order is pretty cheap, but there's a reason. James,
not very good.
That's I was going to say there's a reason for that. Rangers bats on the opposite side, 17th in aggregate ownership of the 20 teams that are on the slate. A little bit higher of a top stack percentage, but this doesn't strike me as an offense we're trying to get to today.
The Rangers or the Mets?
The Rangers.
Okay, I'll say I just told you I want to get to the Mets.
I know. That's why I went to the Rangers.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's typically how this show goes.
It is. I'm not throwing curveballs at you here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you. The Rangers have some power in their lineup, but on a 10-game slate, Chris Bassett's just not somebody that I'm going out of my way to pick on.
There we go. Anything else, Mets and Rangers?
Nope.
This one's pretty easy. Schedule for the rest of the day is as follows. MLB Deeper Dive at 5 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and get that changed. I believe it says that it's supposed to go off at 4:45. I don't think we need the extra 15 minutes for today's slate. So executive decision. I'm going to trim that. We're going to start at 5.
Works for me.
I assume that works. I assume that works for you.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was really hoping for 4:45, but if you insist.
Yeah, we don't need that time. So Deeper Dive at 5, live before lock at 6. That's it. We've only got live baseball coverage for you today. And our top stacks tool is free. We will reference that quite a bit. Basically, every single team that I talk about today, I will let you know where they stand from a top stacks perspective. You can go to stokastic.com, browse directly to our MLB top stacks tool so that you can get a direct look. We show you top stack percentage, top value percentage, the aggregate ownership for the team, and the stack score, which is our own little calculated metric. It's all free. And if you're playing the UFC pay-per-view tomorrow, which you should be because it's an incredible card, our MMA pro plays, our UFC pro plays. I don't think we do any Bellator coverage. UFC pro plays are free. That's the top plays from everybody that covers any UFC content at stokastic.com.
Round 2 of the MMA live final tomorrow also.
How many people are in it still?
30.
Okay.
Assuming that Blender and McLovin and them stop tying each other and somebody actually got eliminated.
We shall see.
Yeah.
Good luck. You have one.
Thanks. Yeah, it's
seat?
only one.
Okay. Did you have more than one?
No.
Okay.
No. Last year I had 3 and got them all through to the finals. But
that I remember.
Yeah, last year wasn't like a live final. This year actually is.
Oh yeah, that's sick. Going to a live final would be.
Yeah.
So what do you need to do here to qualify?
Top 10 of 30 tomorrow go to Dallas for the Nunez card.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Yeah, with 100K up top.
Yeah, I mean, just the entire event as like an MMA event, that just feels like it's going to be more fun.
Yeah, I've only been to one MMA event, and it was before I even liked MMA. DraftKings just had a suite and asked me if I wanted to go, and it was so much fun. And that was when I didn't care at all about MMA.
Only downside, like I would want the card to be in Vegas, but you're still going to have an absolute blast in Dallas.
yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
I'm sure, like financially, you probably would like it to be in Dallas too. Just never know what's going to happen in Vegas if it goes well.
Yeah, can't do as much stupid shit in Dallas probably.
Yeah, can you imagine if it was in Vegas and you win the contest and you just like go to the casino like, yeah, I just won 100K from DK. Can you just put me on like just know that I have it?
Right. Yeah,
they'll cover it.
Text the girl from Sapphire and see how much I can spend.
Jesus. Guardians and Yankees. 3.3 run implied total for the Guardians, 4.8 for the Yankees. Aaron Savale and Garrett Cole going in this one. Savale playing the role of Ronzi Contreras and Glenn Otto in the first 2 games as a guy that you don't want to roster. Garrett Cole playing the, I don't know, analog to Corbin Burns, but not as good. Not as good as of a DFS play today, at least. Cole is 10,800, most expensive on the slate. I think he looks really good. He's getting 23% ownership. Like, obviously, Garrett Cole is in play every single day that he is a starting pitcher in the majors. But this is a very, very bad strikeout matchup. Guardians bats aren't all that bad except for the ass end of the lineup. I think Cole's appropriately owned here.
Yeah. Also keep an eye on weather here. It looks pretty dicey right now. Not that we need to talk about that now. Just something to keep in mind if you're playing. Keep an eye on.
There's a lot of weather today that is going to.
A lot of it's in the early games though, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, just keep that in mind. Don't forget to double back and check the weather here. But yeah, I mean, Cole obviously is always going to be a good play. He's not as good a play as Burns because he is a little bit more expensive. He has a more difficult matchup, both in terms of Cleveland being a better offense than Pittsburgh and Cleveland being extremely difficult to strike out. But you're talking about somebody that strikes out nearly 1/3 of the hitters that he faces. So he's going to get plenty of strikeouts on his own typically. It does right now look like he's probably, like relative to Corbin Burns, he's not getting enough ownership. We have Burns with a 26% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, Cole about 23%, but Burns getting double the ownership. So that's a situation where, you can always kind of merge those two together. You don't have to though, because I do think Burns is going to project as the best pitcher. And if you have low owned hitters, you shouldn't really care too much if you're getting a 23% owned Cole or a 40% owned Burns.
I'm not even going to ask about Savale. So let's look at Yankees bats. 4th in top stack percentage, 5th in aggregate ownership, 7th in stack score. I would like to get to the Yankees more than I would like to get to the Mets. How do you see those two teams? And then just generally talk to me about the Yankees.
So right now we have the Yankees pulling about 6% ownership, so a little bit more than the Mets, but also a higher top stack percentage. They look pretty similar to me. Savale isn't a particularly great pitcher, only striking out 17% of hitters this year, 218 or since the start of last year. 218 expected ISO to right-handed hitters, 19% strikeout percentage against them this year with a 222 expected ISO. So gives up power facing a Yankees team that has plenty of it. The Yankees look good.
Otto Porter to the Raptors.
I like that.
Yeah. So Warriors now down Peyton and Porter.
Where Peyton ended up? I saw he left. I just didn't see where he went.
Portland.
Okay.
Whew, that took me a second.
Did you see Bruce Brown to Denver?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yep.
Peyton was like 3 for 27 or something to Portland with a player option.
Good for him.
It would have been like $80 million in luxury tax payments if the Warriors tried to keep it. Guardians bats, 15th in aggregate ownership, which is oddly high. And then you realize that it's all Jose Ramirez and no one else is getting any ownership. This is the worst team in our top stack percentage and the second lowest implied total on the slate. We're not rostering Guardians today outside of Jose Ramirez, correct?
I don't really see any reason to.
All righty. We shall keep it moving then. Tigers and Royals. 4.1 run implied total for the Tigers, 3.9 for the Royals. Michael Pineda and Brad Keller going in this one. Pay down options on both sides. No one's paying down for Pineda, nor should you. At least I don't think so. Some people, though, are paying down for Keller. Great strikeout matchup, obviously, against the Tigers. Great matchup just in general against Tigers bats. Keller is decent real-life pitcher, not a great DFS pitcher. Can go deep enough into the game. 9% ownership seems about right for him. I think he's the best pay down option you can get to.
Yeah, in terms of like dirt cheap guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's underpriced. He's not a very good DFS pitcher because he doesn't strike guys out. For the season, he's only got a 15% strikeout percentage, but a 4.3 xFIP is fine when you're talking about $5,700 pitchers. He's fully stretched out, like you said. He's got a good matchup against the Tigers. I'm certainly not going in the lineup saying like, oh, I can't wait to get Brad Keller in here, but he's a good value. He's just cheaper than he should be.
Pineda?
Probably not. Is he? I feel like he hasn't pitched in a while.
I got him in for 4 innings.
Yeah, he hasn't pitched since the middle of May. Went 3 2/3 in his most recent rehab outing. I don't really see any reason to get to him.
Do you see any interest in bats in this one? It's a really weird game from an ownership and value perspective. The Royals are 6th in aggregate ownership. They're like 8th and 10th in stack score, probably around where they should be. The Tigers are your number 1 value team, 19% likelihood of being the top value. Not really a great top stack odds, 9th in ownership. Which side of this game do you think you're going to be on more?
Probably the Kansas City side. They're pulling some ownership, but nothing crazy. You have Bobby Witt at 8%. That's one of the better one of the higher upside shortstops on the slate, though. I do like Vinny Pasquantino at 5%. He's only 2,400. That's a spot where I think you can get a little bit different, pay down at first base, still get a nice ceiling there. From the Detroit side, I don't hate it. It's not like it's a horrible matchup against Keller, but typically he's pretty good at limiting power. They are really cheap. $2,400 Riley Green's going to look good, but they're just a tough team to really want to get to.
I don't know what I want to do in this one. I get the sense. I assume that I don't really have any Tigers, and my guess is that I'm relatively neutral to the Royals side of this one. This game, I'm just generally indifferent.
So I just kind of had to laugh. Josh Gillum asked if Alex Cobb was in play, and I realized I hadn't looked to see how many pitches he threw last start. So I typed in COB on DraftKings to see how many pitches he threw. And so it comes up with Alex Cobb, but it also comes up with Kobe Mayo, who the Orioles just promoted to Double-A. And I laughed because they didn't have Adley Rutschman in the player pool when he got called up, but they have Kobe Mayo in here for, I don't know, next year or 2024.
Kobe Mayo, eh? No cash options in this game, right?
He's going to be good, but still not relevant on DraftKings right now. No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Let's cover Coors. Rockies 5.8 run implied total. Diamondbacks 5.6 run implied total. Antonio Senzatella going for Colorado. Merrill Kelly going for Arizona. Neither guy getting any ownership. I don't want either pitcher.
Yeah, I think that goes without saying.
Yeah. Sean V's touting that Senzatella is going to shut them down today. That's a take.
Do I have him muted or something? I don't even see him.
If you do, smart. It was a little bit earlier. He came in he came in with it, which was
okay.
What are the odds that Antonio Senzatella throws 5 to 6 innings of, let's just say, 1 run or less ball? It's really low. It's really low, right?
It's higher than Chad Cool.
Sure, but we're talking a couple percentage points of that kind of game.
It's higher than that.
To shut down a team in this particular setting, I think it's really low. His median outcome is 5 innings and 3.5 runs. I mean,
if you're just saying 5 innings, 1 run, that's happening, I don't know, 10, 20% of the time. It's not like you're saying he strikes out 9 guys in 5 innings or something. That's happening never. But yeah.
What do you think the odds are that Antonio Senzatella gets a quality start? I think that's a decent. It's low.
15.
Okay. I feel like it's a little bit lower than that. What do I actually have it at? I estimate that in my shit. What the fuck is Rockies? Yeah, Rockies 0. What do I have it at? Oh, that's points.
He's done it in each of his last 2 home starts.
Interesting. Okay. Quality starts, eh?
Yeah. 6 innings, 1 earned against the Padres, 6 innings, 3 earned against the Guardians.
Fascinating. Yeah. All right. Even let's just say 10 to 15%. I can't imagine flying in from the top rope being yo, I'm taking the worst pitching option today and saying he's the best.
Yeah, for sure. I don't disagree with you there. I just am arguing with, it's baseball. He's going he's going to go 6 innings and give up a couple of runs a relatively high percentage of the time.
Who's the better offense here?
Arizona.
23% owned today. Number 1 in top stack, number 1 in ownership, number 1 in stack score. It's on the back of 31% ownership to Alec Thomas right now. Arizona's more over-owned than Colorado, though, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. It's easy. You're more likely to get to Colorado than Arizona. Do you think?
Given the current ownership right now, most likely, yeah.
Okay. Break this one down. What do you want to do here on both either side? I think we're sort of just having the same discussion no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think the ownership's a little bit problematic. You're certainly going to want to be finding contrarian pieces to mix in with these guys. When you look at Arizona, every single hitter in the lineup is projected for at least 15%. Alec Thomas leads the way at 31%. Pretty clear cash option, assuming he's sitting toward the top of the lineup at 3,500. Carson Kelly is $2,100. I don't know. I don't understand how they are missing this badly on pricing in Coors recently, but 25% ownership there. This is basically just the Dodgers series again. Normally, I'm going to end up not getting as much as the field, especially as slate size gets bigger. But if I do get to them, it's going to mean that I'm just balancing it out with some very low-owned players around them. But from a value standpoint, from a top stacked standpoint, Arizona clearly number one, and the Rockies not far behind.
I agree. I don't have anything to add. I've got Arizona number one. I've got the Rockies number two. I will likely be lighter on both teams, particularly the, aggressive chalks of the world here. I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys from this game are in cash lineups. You can pretty much justify anybody from Arizona and most of Colorado, at least as of this point. I don't really have anything to add there. You're going to get a lot of this game by default. It's going to make up the majority of your lineup. I'd be shocked if it doesn't.
Yeah, $3,500 Ryan McMahon is just another crazy price tag.
I have him as the best Colorado option. Alec Thomas is probably by default in a cash lineup, $3,500 outfielder hitting second on the road, 31% ownership.
Yep.
Surprised if he's not there.
What do we know about Buddy?
It's gross. What do I know about him? 99 WRC plus, 23% strikeout rate, 150 ISO per steamer. So perfectly nothing guy, it seems. Yep. At least for today.
2,200 in Coors.
Yeah. Also, very, very reasonable play for a $2,200 second baseman in Colorado. I got nothing else here. In cash games, play all of it. In GPPs, be aware of what the rest of your lineup looks like.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like Alex and I kind of talked about it the other day when the Dodgers were there. It's not like you need to just have like a blanket. I'm playing all of the Diamondbacks and Rockies, or I'm not playing them at all. It really just comes down to what you're doing elsewhere. Like if I do end up playing a lot of Rockies Diamondbacks, I'm probably going to end up spread out on some questionable pitching options that aren't getting ownership. If I avoid this game, I'm going to be able to just jam in all of the Corbin Burns, Garrett Cole that I want.
All righty, let's talk a little bit about Prize Picks, presenting sponsor of this show. If you use the promo code AWESEMO, AWESEMO, you can get yourself a 100% instant match deposit bonus of up to $100. Can't really beat that kind of deal. You put in 100, they match with 100. You're going to get quite a bit of money to start a bankroll right out of the gate. And you don't have to worry about sharks or optimizers or anything like that. You're making parlay cards. If you get 5 of them on one card, all 5 win, you can net up to 10x your entry fee. We've got the free Prize Picks player prop tool at Stokastic.com. That will absolutely help you out. I'm going to hit Adam with 1 or 2 of the pitcher props for today. We're going to see where he lands. We'll start it off with Corbin Burns. This might be the biggest one I've seen. Corbin Burns score 43.5.
Wow. Under?
I got him at 41.9. So I agree it's the under, but I thought it was going to be more stark than that.
We have him at 36, which seems kind of low to me.
Here's the one that I want to take a snap under on. Garrett Cole, 42.5.
Yeah, under.
Yeah, I got him at 34.5. To me, I would want to hop on that. I would want to hop on that Cole number immediately. I think the Cole one looks more ridiculous than the Corbin Burns one. So go ahead and get in on that if you can, guys. Final one, Chris Bassett, 35.5.
Under.
Yeah, I would lean the under again as well. I got him at 33.7, so probably not the guy that I'm looking for here, but if you can right now, start building one out on Garrett Cole. I don't think 42.5 is going to hold much longer. All righty. Thank you, Prize Picks, by the way. Astros and Angels. 4.6 run implied total for the Stros. 3.6 for the Angels. It's Christian Javier and Michael Lorenzen. And Javier is in the mold of Garrett Cole, Chris Bassett. Burns, in this area. A little bit behind Burns in ownership, a little bit ahead of Cole and Bassett. 35% ownership for Javier right now. I guess the easiest thing for me to do is rank those four guys, because those four guys are the guys pulling all of the ownership. Cole, Burns, Bassett, Javier. Where is Javier in that group for you?
So he's a little bit less expensive, which is nice. But it's Burns 1, I think Cole 2, Javier, Bassett, I guess, but I think those two are close.
Yeah, I can. Javier, I think I'd be okay giving like a little bit more ownership to Cole in lieu of the ownership that's coming into Javier. I think all three of those guys relative to salary look pretty comparable. And I think Burns is the clear one.
Javier's game-by-game strikeout stuff is just like crazy. You got 13
great strikeout matchup.
Well, yeah, but like you got 13 strikeouts last game. You've gotten a couple of games where he has 9, but then like normally it's just like 4, 4, 4, 5. So like I don't really know what to make of it. Overall, he's got a really good strikeout percentage. He's at in his starts this year 29% or 29.9%. Overall, he's at 31.8%. So the strikeout stuff's really good. It's just kind of weird looking at his game logs, and it's just like, oh, he struck out a bunch of dudes a few times, and other than that, didn't. But yeah, good strikeout matchup here, like you said.
Yeah. Is there any scenario where you're putting a different name or a fifth name into that group, or is that four very clearly where the line is drawn?
Yeah, I think it's those four.
Okay. We're not going to
Alex
talk
Cobb,
about.
I guess, would be the fifth name, but he's, I think, on a different level.
I agree. I have somebody pretty significantly ahead of Alex Cobb, so we'll see where we end up there. Don't need to talk about Michael Lorenzen here.
Don't talk down. Don't talk bad about the Orioles and tell me you're going Joe Ryan here.
Astros bats are 12th in aggregate ownership, 9th in top stack percentage, 12th in stack score. I found a team that's not getting a lot of ownership that I would like to take. This seems like the most under-owned team that we've looked at so far.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's difficult to get there. They are very expensive. You are possibly going to have a watered-down lineup, but maybe not. Depends on the health of Pena and Alvarez. But if those guys are back, like they're really expensive, but it's not a bad spot against Michael Lorenzen. Only striking out 14% of lefties this year, 22% of righties. He's done a good job limiting power to righties, 102 expected ISO, but lefties have really done damage, 205 actual ISO, 218 expected ISO. So stacking or not, Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez are going to look fantastic. But obviously, if you happen to throw in Altuve, Pena, Bregman, that's going to look pretty good too.
Best bat that I have in here is Kyle Tucker. I will happily get there. This just feels like a really nice GPP stack to try to get to. I don't really know what else to say other than I think they're perfectly built for like larger field stuff today. Where do they land for you in relationship to like the Mets and the Yankees?
I think they're going to be a little bit more difficult to get to, but similar type of team, similar spot where they're not facing an absolute trash pitcher, but they're facing somebody that they're clearly better than.
Yeah. In the Angels bats non-Trout Ohtani division, I guess, is there anything here for you against Javier? This seems like a team we ignore outside of 2 guys, maybe 3 guys.
Yeah, I mean, you can throw Ward into that conversation too, but
I was going to throw Walsh in at least because he's a lefty.
Right. Yeah, I'll say typically it's Trout and Ohtani, obviously, just 2 of the best hitters. Ward is ridiculously good, at least this year. And then Jared Walsh just keeps being really cheap and has power. So it's always like those 4, and then I don't care about anything else. Javier is just a pretty good pitcher, though, across the board. He doesn't strike out lefties at the same rate that he does righties. 25% to lefties, 39 to righties, but still only a 158 expected ISO to lefties. So if you get to Walsh, you get to Ohtani, you get to Trout, you get to Ward, all those guys are fine. But I don't anticipate really going out of my way to get to the Angels as a whole here.
Same. Anything else for this one?
Nope.
Twins and Orioles. 5.2 run implied total for the Twins, 3.6 for the Orioles. Joe Ryan and Spencer Watkins going here. We're not going to Watkins in this one. If you want to do that, please fill me in on it, but I don't get the sense that you do. Joe Ryan, though, 8,800, 9% ownership. I have to say it. He's under-owned for today's slate in relationship to what I'm seeing. Is it a guy that I need to go crazy on? No, but if I have 20% and he's 10%, I think that's probably a decent outcome in GPPs. Do you feel aggrieved by me saying this about your Baltimore Orioles?
No, I agree with that.
Okay.
You said that he was aggressively better than Alex Cobb.
I do have that as a true statement.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that one. Overall this year, Ryan's got a 21.8% strikeout percentage. Cobb's at 26.5%, 2.7 xFIP for Cobb, 4.65 for Ryan. Left-handed power in the Orioles lineup with Rutschman, Santander, Mullins. He's only struck out 15% of lefties this year with a 247 expected ISO. Much, 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 much better against righties. 27% strikeout percentage, 157 expected ISO. I think Ryan's a solid mid-range play. I agree that he's going under-owned. I just disagree with him being ahead of Alex Cobb.
I got him 3 points ahead of Cobb.
Well, there's a reason I don't use your projections.
Yeah, because they are not available to you. Don't act like you wouldn't if they were. You know they are too, but that's neither here nor there. That could very easily be done.
You also say you've offered them several times.
Yeah. I don't want to be on the hook for having to update them. I know what that looks like. I don't need your messages. We're not talking about Watkins, correct?
No, there's no reason to talk about Watkins.
All right. Let's talk about the Twins bats, though. Third in ownership, third in top stack, fourth in stack score. They're pretty chalky in that Buxton, Polanco, Correa core. They should be. Those guys are really good. I think these guys are like pretty close to properly owned. You know, it gets a little bit squirrely for some of those guys, but it all makes sense to me. 5.2 run implied total. If you're trying to avoid cores, this is, to me, the best spot you can go.
Yeah, Spencer Watkins is shockingly bad at baseball.
Yeah.
Going back to the start of last year, 339 expected ISO to righties, 308 actual ISO, 12% strikeout percentage. Lefties, he gets all the way up to a 14% strikeout percentage. Expected ISO is 153, so that's at least competent. But that's not going to make me shy away from somebody like Jorge Polanco or Max Kepler. Kirilov's really cheap. If I had to pick somebody to hit a home run today, this won't surprise anybody, but I'll take Byron Buxton. So yeah, I'm really happy to get to the Twins here. And like they're popular, but they're not as popular as Coors.
Yeah, I'm more likely. Are you more likely to get to Twins? Obviously, you don't know this. Are you more likely to get to Twins stacks than you are Coors stacks?
Probably, yes.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm leaning, at least as of this moment. We'll see what happens when I actually start making some lineups.
There's no equivalent to like 7% owned Max Kepler in the Coors game, or 5% owned Gio Urshela, or 3% owned Luis Arias. Like all of the guys.
I mean, 16% Correa at 4,600 at short is low.
Right. Yeah. But like even just from like a raw ownership, not even talking in terms of like where should they be, just in terms of low numbers, there's no like competent hitters in Coors that are Max Kepler level that you can get at sub 10%.
Carlos Correa at this moment is projected for the most ownership at shortstop today.
That makes sense.
Adames, Iglesias, and Perdomo are the only other guys in double digits with shortstop eligibility.
Both teams in Coors have non-existent shortstops.
Yeah. So there's that. What about your Orioles bats? 11th in top stack, 11th in ownership. I actually think they're a little bit better off than the ownership that they're getting. I kind of like Joe Ryan and the Orioles today.
I particularly like the lefties for the reasons I just said when I was talking about Joe Ryan. He's been absolutely lights out against right-handed hitters. That's, not overly surprising. But, and this goes back to last year as well. Sample size gets a little bit larger. 30% strikeout percentage since the start of last year to right-handed hitters. Only 18% to lefties, 271 expected ISO to lefties over that time, 137 to righties. If you're stacking the Orioles, obviously you're fine getting to Mancini, Hayes, Mountcastle. Those guys have power. They're good. You can live with it. But Mullins, Santander, Adley Rutschman, I actually really like all three of those guys.
Yeah, I just think that they're pulling no ownership outside of Mullins, and they are not expensive at all. I think they're interesting for a 3.6 run total. I'm surprised to see their run total be as low as it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Orioles just keep getting slept on.
Well, I mean,
we're all
the Orioles.
At least 1 through 6.
Let's see. Go to FanGraphs.
I said 1 through
see.
6, so don't let Mateo and God, I can never pronounce this guy's name. Arauz and Odor pull this down.
Where did I want to go? Standings, projected stand. Is that the one? Okay, base runs. So far this season in base runs, they are not good offensively. 7th worst.
Mullins, Mancini, Santander, Hayes, Rutschman, Mountcastle. These are the only people I'm talking about.
Okay. So when you say their offense is good, you mean I like a couple bats on the
When
Orioles.
I say their offense 1 through 6 is good, I mean the hitters that hit 1 through 6.
What a weird qualification that ends up being.
The top 2/3 of their lineup is good.
All right. Let's get away from this one. Let's go to a promo code before we get a little bit further. MLB Strategy Show. One gigantic word is the promo code here. MLB Strategy Show. One big word, all caps. It will get you 50% off your first month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Just use the code. It's a great deal to be able to get behind the paywall. And it's not just for baseball, it's for everything that we offer. So if you're interested in playing, say, the UFC card on Saturday, you get in, you have access to everything we've got. The top fighters tool, all of our projections, UFC ownership, all that good stuff. If you're more into like tennis, we've got you covered there. Whatever sport we have and we cover it, you get coverage using this promo code. Just because it says MLB in the title doesn't change anything. Again, MLB Strategy Show is the promo code for 1 month, 50% off Stokastic Plus Platinum. Let's go to Dodgers and Padres. 3 more games to go. 4.2 runs for the Dodgers, 3.3 for the Pods. Tony Gonsolin and Blake Snell. These guys are basically the same from an ownership perspective. Gonsolin at 5, Snell at 7. These guys are good-ish pitchers. Snell, higher ceiling, obviously. But are they slightly underowned? Maybe. Gonsolin's 10,300. I don't really know how to justify that price tag, although, we'll see. Snell 8,600. The ceiling is there, but he's got the Dodgers offense on the opposite side. What do we do with these two guys today?
Probably not much of anything. Use them here and there. If you have, like, if you're stacking, Arizona or something, these are guys that are reasonable to offset ownership. Gonsolin only projected for 5%. But he's one of those guys where, yeah, he's projected to be underowned. But unless I'm actively looking for low ownership in a particular lineup, it's going to be really difficult for me to justify putting Tony Gonsolin into a lineup instead of Garrett Cole or Corbin Burns, or going down to Javier and upgrading somewhere else. And then with Snell, 7% ownership, projected to be underowned, but also a brutal matchup against the Dodgers. He does have good strikeout stuff. He's at 24.4% for the season, but he still walks too many guys. 12.2% walk percentage is second highest on the slate behind Glenn Otto. 4.35 xFIP this year. There's upside at that price point, but it's pretty difficult to say I want to prioritize a volatile pitcher against the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'd rather get to Snell than Gonsolin just because of the price. Because if it's clicking, it can just work here. Like his stuff works against even the best. But I don't know how much I really want or need to be trying to pull that off. But if you saw him with like 9 Ks at the end of the day, you'd be like, okay, Blake Snell had one of those Blake Snell days.
Yep, agreed.
Bats aren't getting any ownership here. The Padres have the second lowest ownership on the slate, 0.6%. The Dodgers, honestly, not that far ahead of them, 13th in aggregate ownership. I'm guessing that we probably have a little bit of interest in the Dodgers and Padres, just at super low ownership, but I can't really say that either one of these teams is going to be a priority.
Yeah, more so the Dodgers for me, just because Snell is so capable of just getting in trouble quickly and not lasting very long into the game. And the Dodgers obviously have a really, really good offense, but still, it's not a pitcher, on a 10-game slate that I'm going out of my way to target against. It's just that, the path to him struggling is very obvious. He gets behind in counts to a very, very good offense, gets in trouble. He's allowed a 178 expected ISO to righties this year, only a 22.6% strikeout percentage as well. So to me, the Dodgers are more interesting than the Padres.
I can't disagree with you there. There's just more upside there. Machado back in the lineup for the Padres, I guess.
Yeah, he played yesterday.
Okay.
I'm assuming he's playing today.
Can't wrap my head around it.
What?
What?
Can't wrap my head around
Like why he was gone and not on the IL?
Oh yeah, no idea.
Like
Yeah, he just sat on the bench for 10 days and they didn't get to bring up another guy.
yeah, I can't wrap my head around that. Mariners and A's. 4.7 run implied total for the Mariners, 3.4 for the A's. Marco Gonzalez and James Caprillion. Caprillion is 3% owned. I don't really have anything to say here. Gonzalez is about 10% owned at 7,400, and that seems reasonable. Like probably the best guy you want to go to with any sort of like he and Keller are, you could swap those guys out depending on if you need a little bit more salary. But I see those guys in a similar vein for today. Do you have anything fun to say about Marco Gonzalez, or is he just like a 10%er to you?
Yeah, he's just there. I mean, 7,400 is decent. The matchup against Oakland is good. Marco Gonzalez himself is not good. 13.5% strikeout percentage, 4.9 xFIP, 1.5 home runs per nine, 199 expected ISO to righties, 268 to lefties this year. Yeah, he's just kind of there. You're playing the matchup. You're hoping that he just gets a bunch of fly balls to the warning track. If he's in like he'll be in some lineups, but it's not anything I'm excited about.
We don't need to talk about Caprillion. Interesting. Okay. There's certainly a reason to like them. So let's start with the Mariners first. They are 8th in aggregate ownership. That's where their top stack odds are. That's where their stack score is. I actually think they're probably a little underrepresented against Caprillion. 4.7 run implied total looks pretty good for this slate. It's higher than I would have expected. Actually, and they're like some of these pieces are expensive. Julio Rodriguez, that's fine. Eugenio Suarez is in the fives, but the rest of this team is pretty cheap. I've got a bit of interest here in Seattle, maybe properly owned already. I don't really know how to sift this out. Something looks good here, and I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, I'm with you. The one thing, the caveat we've been saying for days now is keep an eye on what the Seattle lineup looks like. JP Crawford started serving his suspension yesterday. We still haven't had the appeals heard, so don't know when that's happening, but you could certainly get Winker or Rodriguez not being in the lineup as well. But assuming they are, Winker in particular at 4,100 looks really good. Caprillion's not a particularly good pitcher. 268 expected ISO allowed to lefties so far this year, and we're just still getting a discounted Jesse Winker because he hasn't been good this season. Only a 300 WOBA, sub 100 ISO against right-handed pitching this year, but a 375 expected WOBA and a 196 expected ISO suggests he has been hitting into some bad luck. So I like taking advantage of the reduced price tag on Jesse Winker, assuming he's in the lineup.
I like Winker. As weird as it sounds, like the bottom of their order is what's popping to me relative to their ownership.
Yeah, I mean, Raleigh's got power for a catcher for sure.
Yeah. Toro's got the MPE, so it's really easy to get to a $3,400 guy with second, third. The bottom two guys in the order that I have in here are 2,900 and the flat 2K. Both guys have first outfield or second outfield MPE, so they're just really easy to combine today. And I think that's interesting against Caprillion. Talk to me about the A's. Is this the spot you want to go to try and get value bats? They are second in our top value metric. Might be a little bit easier to just offload some of the ownership because they are basically not getting it.
Yeah, that's how I see it. I mean, it's not like it's a good offense, and more often than not, Marco Gonzalez is going to be able to navigate his way through this lineup, but they're really, really cheap, and they're just not getting ownership. Like in the aggregate, you actually have them with a higher top value percentage than Arizona and getting like 1/8 the ownership. There are some right-handed bats that you can get to here to, try and capitalize. Well, I guess bats in general. Gonzalez hasn't been able to get lefties out either. But, you have Laureano, who's not bad. Bethancourt's not bad. First base catcher eligibility. Murphy has some power. Piscotty's minimum salary. Elvis Andrus, I think, hit 2 home runs yesterday, which that'll never happen again. But the point being, like, at least in the middle of this order with Laureano, Bethancourt, Murphy, Piscotty, there are some decent right-handed bats, and Gonzalez is not a good pitcher.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think they're appealing in relationship to what we know is out there from a value perspective and where the ownership is going right now. It's a bad lineup, though. Don't get me wrong. I think this is the worst offense. The lineup that I have in right now is, to me, the worst offense that's on the slate. But DFS is different in that salaries matter and value matters and ownership matters. So brings them back into play. And it's not like Marco Gonzalez is going to miss a lot of bats. Anything else here for the A's and Mariners?
Oh, Andrus only hit 1 home run yesterday. I just happened to see the replay later, I guess. But still.
Former Brave. Incredible.
He was part of the Mark to Scherer trade.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah, him, Saltalamacchia.
Oh, yeah, it's going to the Rangers, yeah.
Yeah. It was him,
Salty.
Saltalamacchia, Harrison, and somebody else.
Yeah. I love Salty back in the day. Although back in the day is what, like 2009? I don't know anymore.
Or something. Yeah, Teixeira is he was the baseball version of Kevin Durant. He's from like the Baltimore area. And it just kept being rumored that he was going to come to the Orioles. And then he was just like, yeah, I've always been a Yankees fan, and signed with the Yankees.
I was really, really, really into baseball when that happened. It was like, doing some writing and stuff about the Braves at the time. So I'm uniquely able to spell Teixeira like without any sort of problems, like remembering it's EI twice and everything, where it gets really weird. So when Glover Teixeira started coming up for MMA, I was just like, oh, this guy's name is easy. Giants and White Sox closing it out. Game number 10, 4.1 run implied total for the Giants, 3.5 for the White Sox. A clearly lesser version of Joe Ryan and Alex Cobb is going for San Francisco. Lance Lynn going for the White Sox. These guys might as well be the exact same person today. 14% ownership to Lynn, 13.5 for Cobb. You're going to tell me something different. I've got Lance Lynn slightly ahead of Cobb. Go to Cobb because that's probably where you want to go first. Or do you like Lynn more than Cobb? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Lynn's a little bit cheaper. He's going to be allowed to throw a million pitches. That plagued him last start when he dominated through, I think it was like 6 innings, and they let him come back out for the 7th and get lit up and lose like 9 DraftKings points or something. But Lynn's going to be allowed to go deep into the game. It's not a great matchup, but it is a great park. So far this year, only a few starts for Lynn since coming back from injury, but 23% strikeout percentage, 3.33 xFIP, still a cheap price tag. I think he certainly looks better than Marco Gonzalez in that price range, just from a upside standpoint. So I like getting to Lynn. I like getting to Cobb too, though. 13% ownership. Difficult matchup with the White Sox, but a good park for him as well. He threw 80 pitches last time out, so I assume he's going to be able to go a little bit deeper here. He does have the 4th highest strikeout percentage on the slate at 26.5%, 2.7 xFIP. He's a really good pitcher. It's just a matter of how deep into the game can he go. But coming off of a start where he threw 80 pitches, I think I feel pretty good about him at 8,300.
I gave him 4 2/3. Maybe I need to give him an extra hook. It's probably not going to make much of a difference for anything that I'm trying to do here anyway. After that, we've got 2 teams that are unowned. White Sox 16th, Giants 19th in aggregate ownership. Probably have a little bit more interest in both of these offenses than what their ownership shows, but I don't think there's a lot of juice to squeeze here.
Yeah, I'm not overly interested in either one. Both pitchers are good. Ballpark is tough to hit in.
No cash options or anything here either. I don't
think so.
I think we're done. On the dot almost. Favorite stacks?
So to comment on one thing, if Kyle Garlick plays, I like him, but not in the projected lineup for Minnesota. So I keep an eye on their lineup, I guess. But top stacks, Minnesota, Yankees, Mets.
Top pitchers.
Burns, Cole, Lynn, I guess, when you're looking for savings.
All righty. GPP videos coming up shortly.
Yep.
All righty. You and I will be back for the deeper dive in 5 hours. So come watch that, everybody. It'll be fun. Good luck. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you to Prize Picks for being the sponsor. Sign up here using the promo code MLB Strategy Show and hit that like button on your way out the door because I forgot to ask a bunch of times and they're probably too low. So do the job now, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're out of here.